In the next 40 minutes, I'm going to show you an approach that I know could be worth at least $50,000 or more over just the next 6 months, maybe actually far less than that. But that's what I want to hold you to. That's really hopefully what your expectation is here. And certainly that's what I want you to come away from this feeling, whether we ever work together or not. So here's the outline. I'm going to show you how a repeatable system is, in my view, the fastest way to make your business scalable and more profitable. I'm also going to talk about how you go about attracting and closing only ideal clients. Hopefully that has some appeal to some folks. And lastly, how to create long-term recurring revenue with a retainer roadmap, something we've been doing for at least 15 years now. But before I really get into that, anybody feel like there's a little chaos out there in the world? A couple of things are going on right now that I think are really making business a little bit tough. Are you feeling like you're working harder, but not making more, maybe even making less? I talk to business owners, agency owners, consultants every day that are telling me this very fact because it's, there's so much pressure on fees or pricing for tactics that it's getting tougher to actually make that work. I hear people on both sides of this one. I'm curious where you are. I'm a big fan of AI used in the right way, presented and positioned in the right way. But there's certainly a lot of people out there spreading fear about the fact that, well, what are people going to need marketers for? AI is just going to do it all. Frankly, I think AI is actually making smart strategic marketers more important because the world, certainly the search engines and tools like that we're used to, are going to really, I think, take a very dim view on people that are making just AI, fairy dust. And so I think there's a real opportunity there. And I'm very excited about it, but it's got to be thought about it in the right way. And then lastly, there's talk about global recession, and I think it has clients, and maybe you spooked a little bit. Do any of those resonate? Frankly, one of the things I've seen, I've been doing this 30 years. I've been through a number of ups and downs. I've been through a number of, the world is ending, type of feelings out there. And one of the things that I have seen is that during tough times, the companies that actually invest more in their marketing are the ones that come out 10 times ahead of people that just cut and ran. And so again, I think there's a real opportunity for us as marketers to take some advantage of that. But if, and only if, these three things come together, this is really what I call the profit matrix. Today, in a world of competition, of everybody kind of looking the same, or at least our potential clients thinking we look the same, having a package or having a specific message or positioning where you can go out there to a percentage of the market and say, look, I solve a very specific problem for a very specific person in a very specific way. That is how you differentiate. That's how you stand out from everybody else who says they're doing what you're doing. And when you do that, the second thing that comes into play is now all of a sudden people will pay a premium for that. And if you're not charging a premium for your services, if you're down there competing with the people that are selling for, $1,000, $2,000, shoot, $500 a month, kind of marketing retainers, well, there's no margin in that for you to scale because you can't hire, you can't afford to delegate. In fact, you just get sucked into the low margin work. And believe it or not, it's far more competitive down there in low price shoppers. There's a whole lot more people trying to sell in that price point. Pricing yourself at a premium, having a reason for people to take note and be willing to pay a premium. There's far less competition there, and it's also far more profitable so that you can actually scale a business by delegating or hiring folks. Now, there's a third piece of this puzzle that sometimes people forget about, and that's fulfillment. Oops. If you want to have $1 million business, stop and do some math on that. You have to actually be able to fulfill $100,000 or $150,000 a month in services. And the only way to really do that, in my view, is to have a repeatable system that you can teach to others so that you can effectively delegate work that you are able to acquire without you having to do all the work. If you're making it up every single time with every client, you're not going to be able to do that. But if you can have and run from a very repeatable, teachable system, then you've really got what I think is the sweet spot. And that's the middle of that, the right package and positioning, the right pricing so that you can actually be profitable. And that profit allows you to then hire and delegate. And then when you hire and delegate, you've got a repeatable, teachable system that allows you to fulfill a significant amount of business every single month. So, what is a fractional chief marketing officer, fractional CMO? I'll just go with my classic definition. It's a marketing strategist, keyword there, brought into an organization part-time, not full-time, to help set the strategic direction and orchestrate, another word that I love to use and I'll use over and over again, marketing implementation using either internal, their own resources, or external resources, third-party resources. There's a whole lot of folks building amazing businesses today without actually having a full-time team. It's very, very doable. So let's talk a little bit about that name. I've been using the term fractional CMO. It's certainly a positioning that is growing in popularity, almost trending, if you will. But it doesn't really matter what you call yourself. I think it has to do more with your approach or your point of view, whether you're a marketing consultant, an agency, fractional CMO, fractional marketing manager, marketing department, marketing strategist. The terminology doesn't really matter. In fact, I was working with a consultant in a French-speaking country, and she said there's actually no good word for fractional that translates. So a lot of this doesn't really matter what you call yourself. We happen to be leaning very much into the fractional CMO positioning because the market is ready for it. The market gets fractional everything. And so I think that it makes a ton of sense as a great differentiator, but it really comes down to a point of view that starts with strategy before tactics. Now, here's why I think this opportunity is particularly important right now. The adoption of fractional CMOs, this is from Chief Outsiders, fractional CMOs has increased by 60% over the last 5 years. And it's not just, $100 million companies, much smaller companies who realize they have a CMO-like function in their business. They certainly don't have a full-time function for that, but they have a strategic function in their business, have realized that this is actually a way for them to do it in a way that makes a lot of sense for where they are in their business today. This is just a shot from Google Trends. The search volume for that term has gone through the roof in the last 24 months or so. So I think that what's happening, and again, we can blame many things on the pandemic, why not? Is that a lot of businesses were doing quite well and really got caught off guard because they had no real strategy in their marketing. They had no probably business strategy, but certainly not in their marketing as well. And here are all the things that a business really needs out of marketing or out of a marketing department if they were to have one. If they had a full-time CMO, this is what that CMO would be focused on. Strategic planning, brand management, marketing campaigns, clearly analyzing data, budget management, and ultimately, if they're hiring, managing the marketing team. But here's what most agencies provide, and that's marketing campaigns or marketing tactics. And I think that that has led to a real disconnect. There's a lot of business owners out there that just feel like marketing doesn't work, or I don't know what works. It's so complex. I don't know who to trust. I've been burned, by somebody who said they were going to do SEO for me. The idea that there's nobody orchestrating this and that there's nobody planning this, I think is a huge disconnect, but it's also a huge opportunity for folks like us. What people need is a fractional CMO plus an implementation team. Because let's face it, that $2 to $10 million business, they need a fractional CMO, but they also need somebody to do the work. So what we've actually been teaching and licensing over the last decade or so is something we call Fractional CMO Plus, because there are very few firms out there that are willing to hire somebody. They're there, certainly in larger firms that have a team in place, but they just don't have anybody that's managing or orchestrating that team. So they just want somebody to come in and be that outside view. But I think the real opportunity in the market in terms of market size is that company out there that needs the strategic view first, but then they also need somebody to implement. I kind of liken it to the orchestra. I of course had to turn to AI to create some goofy images, but the orchestra that's just totally out of control. Everybody's doing their own thing. And as silly as this picture sounds or looks, we run across companies every day. They have an SEO person, a web person, a content person, a paid media person. Nobody's talking to each other. Nobody's working from a set plan with objectives that it floors me, how they would actually even accomplish anything, whereas the much more soothing view, whether you call yourself a fractional CMO or whatever you call yourself, the idea of orchestrating all the moving parts in marketing, orchestrating all the evolving parts and the changes in marketing, that's a big part of what I think the opportunity we have now. And the business market, the business owner, in my view, has never been more ready to, just stop doing the tactic of the week and have somebody actually give them a playbook, a blueprint, a plan for moving forward. Today, I think any of you out there that are just selling tactics or tactic packages, without strategy, you're probably feeling it. It is a race to the bottom. I mean, we could spend about 2 minutes here and jump on a search engine and find somebody that is willing to build a website for us for $500. Now we can argue whether or not it's even worth $500. But if the market out there feels like, oh, I can just get AI to do something, or I can buy this, for this service or this tactic, for next to nothing, then we have to really have a completely different approach. And by having a strategy first approach, you're actually able to sell the tactics for probably twice what you're selling them for today. More on that in a minute. So here are some reasons why the fractional model works. I mean, first and foremost, the average salary of a chief marketing officer, 208 to 375 from salary.com. Plus, they've got to come with implementers. What size business really needs that level, or would even afford? If you do kind of classic marketing percentage of revenue math, it's probably north of $30 million before this would even be on your radar. But you get over $1 million or $2 million, you start having different marketing problems than that, startup business. And so this model, I think there's a great range of businesses that need this, but certainly it doesn't make sense for them to have it full time. The average fractional CMO costs about $60,000 a year. Plus, in a lot of cases, they can bring to bear an implementation team pretty much on demand. So it's a much more flexible approach. Now, I've done some research recently with DataBox, the analytics firm, and we just assumed that cost savings was going to be the real reason. We asked clients who have hired fractional CMO or have currently working with a fractional CMO, and certainly cost savings is up there. It makes total sense. But by far and away, the number one reason or single greatest benefit that they attribute to hiring a fractional CMO is that they're going to get strategic expertise. I can't say this enough. The market is hungry for strategic expertise. Now, we turned around and asked those fractional CMOs, according to your experience, what's the primary benefit for your agency offering fractional CMO services? No surprise. It made them more strategic as an agency. By leading with strategy, the implication is if you're going to hire somebody who calls himself a fractional CMO or engage a fractional CMO service, you're probably looking for strategy. So it's a differentiator right off the bat. But I want to point to this second one, because this is something that we have experienced time and time again. Enhanced client relationships. When you come in and do strategy first and run somebody through a process that has tremendous value, that asks them questions and give them insight to their business that really they've never even thought about, or certainly no marketing agency has asked them to think about, you become a trusted advisor almost immediately. And now your recommendations aren't seen as a vendor pitching services. Your recommendations are seen as a trusted advisor giving advice on the path forward. I can't state that right client relationship um, going in is something that I attribute our clients stay with us for years, and I attribute a great deal of that to attracting the right client through strategy, but then also creating what I think is a much healthier client relationship. So my question to you is, if you had the right system, could you land just one client a month? If you do that for a year, you have built a significant business if you can retain that client a month. So let's um, let's just have you throw it in there. Who thinks they could, with a yes or a one or whatever you want to throw in there, who thinks with the right system, one client a month does not really seem like that's a huge uphill battle? Feel free to put it in chat. One or a yes. Sounds doable. A couple emojis coming in. I mean, obviously, I've made a pretty simplistic question here, but when you view it that way, when you review the recurring revenue model, this is how you build momentum with even a goal that for some people seems pretty doable. So the average retainer in our network is $5,000 a month. So again, more simple math here. 2 clients turns into, over the course of a year, 120,000. 4, 246. It's just simple math formula. I won't insult you by going any farther, but you can see the point I'm trying to make here is the recurring monthly revenue building of this model. Now, does it scale though? A lot of what I would call the more traditional fractional CMO model is really built around somebody who's got good experience, worked for a company, maybe they were a CMO, maybe they weren't. They jumped out and said, hey, I've got a good network. I've got people asking me to do stuff for them. So I'll just act as a fractional CMO. I'll sell a fourth of my time to 4 different companies. Now, there's nothing wrong with that model. You might actually be paid quite well for your time. The problem with it is there's very little room to scale a model like that. You can't make more time, right? And so our system is really addressed to create scope around what a fractional CMO does so you can scale. In our network, the average licensee of our system manages 10 to 13 clients with a 19-month retention. Now, we have some that are doing less than that. We certainly have some that are doing more than that because they've built an infrastructure around serving even more clients than that. But I think we have cracked kind of the model for how you do a hybrid-ish, fractional CMO, but also build a business that scales, or add a service on that allows you to build your agency in a way that attracts the right clients and allows you to have the right relationships with those clients. So I'm going to spend a little time breaking down the steps in creating a fractional CMO system. First one is to understand a little bit of how this model differs from the traditional, what I call project-based path. We all put out free content today, hope to get a sales meeting out of it. That sales meeting hopefully turns into a proposal. The client says, I need X, Y, and Z. We propose X, Y, and Z, turns into a project maybe. You do the work for a while, and then a lot of cases you start over. Now, this is how I started my business, but at some point I just couldn't figure out how to make this model work or to make this model scale. I was working harder, not making any more money the more clients I got. So at some point I said, I'm going to try a different path. So our path now is, of course, you certainly have to put out generate leads, but instead of trying to sell strategy, because you can't sell strategy. Nobody wakes up and says, I'm going to go buy some strategy today. You have to actually let them understand the gaps that are in their business that they want to fill. So we run people through a strategy session. We use a tool called the Marketing Hourglass, which is essentially our customer journey that identifies 7 behaviors. I'm going to talk a little more about it in a minute. But that tool really allows us to just say, here's how marketing really works. And what they immediately see in that is that they have significant gaps. So all we're trying to sell them at the end of that is a 60-day, 45-day strategy first engagement. And almost, or somewhere close to, 100% of the people that go through that strategy first engagement then want to retain us for a long-term engagement. So first off, you do have to demonstrate value with useful content. I mean, 10 years ago, we were saying content is king, like it was this new thing. Today, content's air. I mean, there's no point in talking about marketing. I always laugh when people say, I need to hire an SEO firm, but I have no content. What are they going to SEO? Exactly. I mean, content has really become the ante for getting in the game. So unfortunately, that's turned into a glut of content. So the content has to actually be useful. It has to address the problems people are trying to solve. Now, the good news is for folks that license our system, we've been producing content for about 15 years. We have ebooks and checklists and case studies and useful tools that consultants in our network actually use to help generate and convert leads because these are the types of things people are looking for. Now, I already mentioned this idea of, not selling, but showing people what it might be like to work with you in a strategy session. So instead of showing up at a sales call and saying, okay, what do you need? What are your problems? What can we propose? We actually take the route of saying, look, I just want to run you through an exercise that I think you'll find really, really useful. And so we run them through the Marketing Hourglass exercise. And this hourglass stages, 7 stages: know, like, trust, try, buy, repeat, and refer. It opens their eyes to what they've been missing in marketing, and certainly gives us an opportunity to identify all the gaps that they have, the things they're not doing. Most people are running ads to try to get people to buy, and that's about it. There's no education that actually helps you attract the right customer. There's no education that helps you charge a premium. After somebody becomes a customer, they're almost an afterthought. And that's where the real opportunity, I think, exists. When people see this and nobody's been telling them, that this is what marketing really is, what does your ideal customer journey look like? How can we put your marketing on the ideal customer's chosen path? What gaps in the campaigns, content, processes do we need to fill? Those couple of questions really have them saying, I want this. This is one of the consultants in our network. She flat out said, I hate to sell, but when I use the Marketing Hourglass, prospects just ask me to do what I showed them before I propose anything. Go through the stages of the hourglass a little. This is a little bit of what it'll look like. If we have a tool that we use, the Hourglass Journey Map. We were going through the hourglass. We help identify, how people would come to know you. A lot of times people can answer questions there, but then they don't even think about the things that happen as somebody's starting their journey, as they're moving to try to develop trust. Is there a way that they can actually try you, the bridge to long-term success? What's your buying process look like? As I said, most people can talk about what they're doing to get leads or to get clicks, but after that, it breaks down pretty thoroughly. When we talk about refer and actually, that's reversed. It should be repeat and then refer. When we talk about those two processes, they're doing nothing here. And so really at the end of this process, this is more than once we've heard this exact response. Wow, what would it take to build this for us? So we haven't even proposed anything. We haven't even talked about what we do or that they need strategy. But what we've clearly identified is that they need strategy and now they want it. So we sell them into a 30 to 45-day strategy engagement. And I kind of laughed that, our mantra is then we hook them for life. Again, remind you, attracts the right client, and creates the right relationship. We have done strategy first now between myself, our agency, our organization, and the folks that we've licensed. We have done strategy first thousands of times. It has evolved. We have refined it. It is locked down everything from the intake form to the final deliverable and everything that you do in between to get the client an amazing result that literally has them begging you to then become their marketing implementation partner. Now, once we moved to long-term or retainer based on those recommendations, and my feeling is, you put out free content, you do this strategy session, you attract the right client, you're charging $7,500 to $15,000 simply for the strategy first engagement. The long-term retainer, the average in our network is $5,000 to $10,000. I will tell you, my view on the long-term retainer is we've built so much trust doing strategy first that all I want to do is come up with a number that the company is comfortable paying me for the rest of their life. That's how I view it. We keep it very simple. There's no like this month is this, that month, this month is that much. We're selling time. No, we're going to propose a plan and we're going to have a number attached to that plan every single month. And we're in charge of the scope of that plan. That is what selling strategy first or delivering strategy first has ultimately done for us. It puts you in charge of the entire engagement. Now, once you move to long-term retainer, most of the clients that we work with anyway, they come to us with the foundation kind of broken. There's a lot of things that we have to fix before we can really move to growth or growth of leads or growth of sales, certainly growth of products, growth of recurring monthly revenue. So we have built stages along the fulfillment plan that we return to this over and over and over again. And I think that speaks greatly to why we retain our clients for years, because we go in with the mentality that we are going to mature their marketing. We're not just going to do a thing for them. We're going to actually take them from where they are to where they want to go. We have built these, there's too much for you to read on this, but we've built, milestone for each stage that actually we can move somebody through and mature them. So again, our belief is that we are going to keep a client for a very long time. And so we actually talk to them about what the future looks like. So another question for you. Who wants to build this, or who would like to know how they could acquire our entire system? Again, you can put yes or no or anything you want in there. Please go on, tell me more. But we've been working on this for, to some degree, 25 years. Certainly, things change. It's changed. It's evolved. But many people actually join us because if I've heard this one time, I've heard 100. Why recreate the wheel? You've already built such an amazing system. So let me talk you a little bit about what we've built. So here's how to license our fractional CMO system. First off, I believe that if you give us 90 days, maybe less, quite frankly, that you can master this system that we've used to double and triple hundreds of businesses, not only the businesses that license this system, but also the businesses that they work with. We have, as I said, been doing this for over a decade. We've run over 400 agencies and consultants through this program. We also have a very active network of about 100 agencies that collaborate on weekly, monthly, quarterly, annual events. So if you want to attend our next training, it's a 3-day intensive. You immediately then go into a 3-month, what we call blueprint with your cohort group that we're going to do more one-on-one training, more group training. The goal of that is to make sure that you are actually getting clients and getting value out of what you've purchased. Then we also, I mentioned the network of consultants that collaborate. It is an optional thing, but we're going to actually put you in a 3-month trial of that network. We do masterminds monthly. Every month we have some deep dive training. I'll bring in an expert on, paid media or SEO. We do in-person boot camps a couple of times a year. We do an annual summit. So, I will tell you, people often tell me they came for the tools, they stay for the network. So you're going to get to experience that as part of your initial certification. You're also going to get access to a group of implementation partners. We have many folks in our network that are solopreneurs. They don't want to do the work, and heaven forbid, they actually shouldn't be doing the work. I'm a big fan, obviously, of delegation in the right way. So we have web firms and we have SEO firms and social and paid media and content folks that you're going to be able to tap into. And they're not only vetted, they're at any given time working with, a dozen of folks in our network. So they understand exactly our approach and the unique way to deliver on our approach. Now, you're also going to get, as part of this, the training is 3 days, then you're in for 3 months, but you're going to get lifetime access to really all of the tools, all of the training that we do in the certification, but then the years worth of training on lead generation, on scaling your practice. You're going to get access to that. You're going to get access to all the content and all the checklists and all the tools that we've built, hundreds of SOPs, for every little inane thing that you might need an SOP for, working with clients or working with your team. You're going to get access to all of that for life. So you're going to get the strategy or the fractional CMO plus implementation path. We're going to teach you exactly how to do that. You're going to get access and a license to sell and fulfill on this thing called Strategy First using all of our tools. You're also going to get training on how to generate and convert leads. Obviously, this is a significant part of making this model work, and it's a little different. It is a high ticket, high trust sale, but you don't need hundreds of them. And so there's a very different approach for, for generating the right client for this type of approach. And we're going to teach you how to do it. You're going to get access, as I said, to all the content that's housed there. You're going to be able to use our proprietary trademarked tools such as the Marketing Hourglass. You're going to get full training, but also a full suite of tools that would really allow you to go out on day one and sell somebody and implement for somebody's strategy first. You're going to get all of our processes around, the ongoing retainer and keeping your clients for years. We store the tools and templates we use a community tool called Circle that, this is what you would have lifetime access to with processes and training on every aspect of business. And our partner network is kept up to date here. This is how you would tap into these folks. And they're not white label. You actually, our model at least, is that you would actually just engage these folks. You would pay them to do what it is you want them to do. And then you build that into your retainer. Again, that's our kind of simplistic model. So I invite you, if this has piqued your interest, we'd love to have you. There is a bit of a investment, of course, an application process to make sure this is a great fit. But I want to reiterate, system, is the solution to really growing this kind of business. You're going to be acquiring a process that has now been thousands of times successfully installed in businesses. You're going to get tools, templates, SOPs. You're going to get instant access to implementation vendors. And frankly, if you meet with our advisor and say, hey, it's a good fit, I'm ready to join tomorrow, we'll actually put you into pre-training right away, which we highly, highly recommend because you get a head start. So the application process is such. Truthfully, this isn't for everyone. This is, I think, a great solution for the right folks. We have a lot of folks that are in startup mode. They've got the experience in marketing, but they want to get started faster. Time is money. And we've got a whole set of tools that would allow you to get started much faster. Certainly that group has been very successful. And then if you've got a business, you know how to get clients, you're just struggling with profitability, you're struggling with process and systems, we can meet you where you are as well. We have businesses that have come in and from complete startup that now 3, 4, 5 years later, have built an infrastructure and a team, and they're working with multiple clients at any given time. So the process is that you're going to speak with an advisor. There's a couple paths you can go down to join us. And again, all they're going to do is meet with you and give you some great advice about what we do and about the fit for this. We do keep our cohorts small by design. Our session is mostly full. We have a handful of seats left in that. We do run these, throughout the year. But if this makes sense and you want to get started quickly, this is your next step.